Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of Origin Quarter videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. In this Kickstarter preview video, we're going to look at Amazing Encounters and Quests, an encounter book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Published by CZRPG, designed by Christian Joich and Ricardo Andrade, now seeking funding on Kickstarter. This video has been sponsored by the publisher, and a copy has been provided for the purposes of this preview. If you enjoy my videos, consider supporting me via patreon.com/RogueWatson. I have reviewed and previewed many of Christian Joich's works, including many encounter books, and it's been a real pleasure to watch this designer go from pretty good to really damn great, specifically in the niche of encounter books, which I think, and I've always said, is probably one of the most helpful and useful supplements that a DM can have, because these are literally designed to fill in the spaces between your big adventures, and a lot of what you're doing in an RPG is going from point A to point B, and sometimes you want to have something interesting happen along the way. I really look at open world video games as being a great model of this, modern ones especially, like Red Dead Redemption 2 did a really great job of this. When you have, organic encounters, and a lot of times they could even lead to other quests. So you may have a quest to go to this place over here, and then on the way you may meet some characters, NPCs, or stumble on some monsters in a situation or something that then leads to, along this other kind of side quest. I think those are some of my favorite designs when it comes to these encounters, and I noticed that CZRPG started putting and quests on there, because these encounters really are more than a typical encounter table. One of the things I hate to see whenever I'm reviewing an adventure book is when they try to fill that, going from A to B, and hey, let's have some kind of content in there. So here's a random table of monsters with no context or no anything except maybe there's some connection between the biome and what kind of creatures can appear there. I really appreciate instead when we get more scripted encounters that really make that region come alive, that maybe tie in events of the history, or that can, like I said, lead to other important areas, or reflect on what's going on in the world right now, and maybe the ongoing factions and events and things that can be reflected in these encounters. Now, this is a preview, so it does not include the full product, but this particular encounter book, I don't believe has a set theme like some of the other encounter books that I've reviewed, in terms of having a certain biome or region or creatures or factions or anything like that. Instead, it's just good fantasy content, basically. The final product will include 36 encounters. 24 will be based in the wilderness, and then 12 of them will be based around urban environments. This particular preview copy includes 5 of those encounters, which I will go over, but as you can see, they range from just a couple pages all the way to maybe 4 or 5 pages, and it's a lot more than just a single page encounter, or even a paragraph, because a lot of times you can even have just a paragraph as an encounter. Technically, this is a lot more than that. Also, if this is your first time with a CZRPG product, you get full color battle maps with every single encounter, which has always been one of the biggest pluses. And I've also seen the map quality go from pretty good to really damn great, which has been very, very enjoyable for me to see, because I run 90% of my tabletop content on virtual tabletops, and having really good quality map does a lot for the immersion and helping bring my players into the game. So since there's only 5 here, we can actually kind of go over them individually, and then based on my thoughts and what you think about these encounters, we can extrapolate what the full product will be like. I really love the layout and design. This is, again, if you've seen my previous videos or reviews covering this particular designer, you know that they really bring the A game when it comes to organizing an encounter book. Every single encounter is organized into the level ranges, the type, usually looking at the pillars of D&D, so combat, social, and exploration, a 1-sentence overview, which is kind of your elevator pitch that describes the entire encounter in 1 sentence, which is incredibly helpful, and a suggestion on where to put this encounter. Is it in a marketplace? Is it in a swamp? Is it on top of a mountain? That kind of thing. That helps you determine which kind of encounters you'll be able to use. So amazing, cool artwork, really nice little gold border here. I love the look of this book. The look of the book is really freaking fantastic. And of course the maps, ooh, just chef's kiss on these maps. All right, so the first one, in fact, the first 2 are basically combat with some social opportunities. Horned Peril has the characters, they're traveling on a mountain and they get accosted by a weregoat, which is a unique creature that is apparently a satyr that has been infected by lycanthropy, which is technically usually not supposed to happen. And this actually says at Fae are usually not affected, but this one has. Weregoat's a pretty funny creature, and this one just attacks the players kind of out of the blue, but calls out like, oh, you'll do, or something, and starts firing them from an elevated position with a heavy crossbow. This is pretty low level too, second level, so it's a pretty dangerous opponent, especially when it has like, 39 hit points. I think it's mentioned that he might actually have 50 hit points. Does it say that somewhere? Yeah, a weregoat with 50 hit points. Whoa, so it's like a boss fight all of a sudden, an encounter. And immediately the player's like, what is going on? Now, the idea is he's not designed to kill the players. He wants to test them. And likewise, he will surrender if he goes down in hit points, or I imagine if the players have something to, incapacitate him or something. But it's an environment that lets him specifically take advantage of his ability to, get around the mountain and not have to worry about all the traversal mechanics, which is interesting. And furthermore, this one is designed to lead the players to a dungeon. Now, the designers don't actually say, or they're like, hey, this is outside our purview. We're just creating this encounter, and then you, the DM, if you want to have a side dungeon or quest or anything, then this could be an interesting introduction to that, which I agree. That's actually kind of a cool idea. Maybe it would have been cool to have some suggestions in there about what kind of like dungeon or events this creature would have, or maybe if you, at the very worst, you could just have a treasure chest, be like, oh, I just wanted to test you guys, or some random bullshit. But I appreciate that this could lead to a different quest, and I like the mountain weregoat attack. Seems interesting. Horror at the Boiling Stream, designed for 11th through 12th level. This one puts a Remoraz in a halfling farm. The Remoraz has been attempted to, it's called semi-tamed, by a sea hag. So, and of course the Remoraz, she can't handle it, so it's broken free and it's been eating people, and she's kind of okay with it because she's a hag and they're assholes. And this poor halfling farm is next on the menu as the party comes up to them, and the water near their stream is boiling. Out pops a Remoraz, which is this very cool, unique creature that you usually only find in like Icewind Dale and very cold regions. And it immediately eats the family patriarch, and then all the other halflings scatter, and the party has to actually rescue them. I love the fact that the Remoraz has a saddle on its back, which leads to all kinds of questions for the party about what the hell is it doing here, what's going on. They can try to even spot the sea hag. It's possible that the sea hag could enter the fight. It's possible that the Remoraz could be driven off. It's possible that the halflings could be eaten or saved. There's a lot of different outcomes here, and I just like that we're taking a normally very exotic, unique creature and putting it in a kind of mundane area, because how often can your players, stop by a farm on their way in their fantasy RPG open world exploration? All the damn time. How often they meet a Remoraz? Not very often. So this is a pretty cool way of using that creature, including an excuse about why we're going to have a random combat encounter at tier 3. I also just like a chance for player characters to act like superheroes and actually save people versus just going in and killing a bunch of monsters. That's always appealing to me. So they get a better reward also if they can save more halflings. Mystery at the Market is an entirely exploration-based encounter, which I love. This is a murder mystery, has occurred in the middle of the day in a bizarre marketplace situation, and the players are in that situation and, of course, can help with the investigation. There's a very easy to follow background here about essentially a love affair that leads to the woman murdering the man's wife, and then she's blaming her own ex or that woman's ex-husband as the killer. It's just intricate enough to be interesting, but not like too confusing or crazy, which I think is important when it comes to a lot of mysteries, because you really don't want it to be too spiderwebby with all the things going on, unless that's like what your whole campaign is about. This is literally just an encounter, just a murder has happened in the middle and you need to track down the murderer, and it actually takes a couple pages to kind of explain everything. But I appreciate there's no combat involved. It's just gathering information, looking at clues, using skill checks, and a really good excuse of what an encounter can be, because I think this fits the bill absolutely. And yet there's no, it's not like goblins attack the marketplace, or it's not a monster encounter. It is just an event that happens that the players are encouraged to deal with. So I absolutely thumbs up on that. Very cool idea for an urban encounter. Another urban encounter, Tavern Brawling Time, is a kind of fight, not quite Fight Club. Like in an RPG, I feel like the Cyberpunk series did this, or not Cyberpunk, the latest Cyberpunk 2077 game. where you enter a tavern type situation, and there are several mini games you can engage in, and one of those is a bunch of people just facing off and fighting each other for money and bragging rights, and that's what's happening here. This actual tavern is, what's it called? The Wrestling Bear Tavern is known for these fight. I keep wanting to say like underground, like Fight Club, but that's not what this is. This is very above board, and the players can like lay down bets or get involved in the fight, and of course there's a favorite they have to beat, and there's all these different kind of mini game mechanics. There's stone golems that are in the 4 pillars that can kind of make sure that the combatants stay inside, and maybe they can grapple people and things. So a neat idea again for an urban environment, and I do think that these kind of mini games can be really, really fun for the players to engage in, especially if they just came off of some really intense, dungeon crawling or a big story moment or cinematic or something. This is a fun way for them to wind down. But if your characters are maybe more into combat winding down, then this still counts as that, and just having fun in a tavern, and just all kinds of really cool shenanigans can happen out of this. And a really, really cool tavern map, by the way, that I absolutely love. It's actually really good size and big enough to have the arena in, and big enough for a proper tavern. The 5th one is Treasure Hunt, designed for level 3 to 4. This one, there's a little bit of a background here, but the main thing you need to know is that this person knows the location of a magical treasure chest that has been sunken to the bottom of a seafloor, and she hires the players to help her retrieve it, which is kind of an interesting task where you already know like where it is. You just have to go down and do the exploration. So first there's kind of some social part of it where you get to be hired on and have to go with her crew. Then there's an exploration part where you have to go down with the chest and figure out the logistics of breathing underwater or just holding your breath underwater, and then finding the thing and attaching like the winch and all these things. And then there's a combat aspect, because of course there's going to be some sea creatures to fight off. In this case, a giant electric eel. I was actually hoping this one would be, and I love that map, a little more like maybe we could do like a wave-based fight as we're like, winching up the chest, maybe multiple waves of creatures come in. But I get it at level 3, you probably can't go too hard with creatures. But I think this one could be scaled very well. I like the idea of being underwater, having an objective, and then having to like wait for a second while it comes up, and then you have to fight off these various sea creatures, in this case, these giant electric eels. So really nifty idea there. And as you can see, a really impressive variety of locations and events. We've got urban encounters, we've got an underwater encounter, we've got one on the mountainside, one in a farmstead. That's just 5 of what's going to be 36 different encounters and quests. And I do think the ampersand quests is an appropriate modifier here, because as you can see, none of these are like a single paragraph or a page long. These are far more expanded than the previously encounters that I have seen, and yet I think they still fit the encounter bill. They don't go into a full-on mini adventure. They don't take like multiple steps or areas. They're still centered around one single area, which I think is key for the encounter. And yet they all feel way more interesting than any kind of like random encounter table or just single page event. And obviously the maps help enhance that quite a bit. Real quick for my pros and cons. Pro, interesting variety of encounter situations and locations, each of them with multiple outcomes that can occur. Pro, encounters for each tier of play, including combat, social, and exploration types. Actually, I'm not quite sure there's going to be tier 4. The ones I've seen at least have been tier 1, 2, and 3. Pro, well-organized, easy to read, and attractive layout. I've pretty much am going to say that of all of CZRPG's products, because I absolutely love the way they look. I love the art, the layout, organization, everything is perfect. And Pro, every encounter includes an original full-color battle map. Always super cool, double thumbs up for me for getting the amazing battle maps, and I'm sure we'll get all the different, gridded, non-gridded versions, everything like that. CZRPG always delivers on some amazing maps that really help motivate me to use a lot of the encounters in my games, because I don't have to look for maps. I have no cons whatsoever, other than the fact that I wish I had the whole product right now and I could look at it. I only get the preview here. Final verdict: with fun ideas and quality production, amazing encounters and quests, looks like another winning encounter book from one of the best designers in the 5e business. Thank you for watching this video review. You can watch my written preview at roguewatson.com and watch more reviews and follow our own D&D adventures here on my YouTube channel. And you can support my work at patreon.com/roguewatson. Thank you.